Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Dean Blundell Show. My name is Dean. You've arrived at DeanBlundell.com, or you're watching on at Dean Blundell on Periscope / Twitter or Twitch TV. Dean Blundell TV. YouTube. Dean 2. We just finished with David Miller. What a fucking great guy. City of Toronto came out and talked to us about climate change, climate hoaxers, climate deniers. Real quick breaking news, too, before we get started. They just arrested that guy, Adam Skelly, from Adam's Barbecue. You know the barbecue joint, Sean? The barbecue joint that was serving patrons indoors and caused a big scene for the last 3 days and changed the locks and, the fucking pandemic. And the guy that was operating without a fucking business license. Remember that guy, Sean? Remember him? Yeah, he's in jail. Anyway... the podcast today brought to you by our friends at Owner's Box Fantasy Sports. Right now, $500 bonus, cash bonus, match bonus money, free money, $500. If you go and sign up at Owner's Box, play some fantasy this weekend. A lot of football on today. Get in there now. You might as well do it. Owner's Box Fantasy Sports, weekly payouts, huge ones too. The official fantasy partner of DeanBlundell.com. Thanks to our friends at Blue Microphones, the official microphone of DeanBlundell.com as well, and Ed's Fine Imports. Gitch3, your promo code, buy 3, get 1 free, 4 pairs of Gitch for the price of 3 at edsfineimports.com. Last week we were talking on the podcast about a fucking million things. And as luck would have it, someone was listening to it and said, hey, I got an answer for you. The answer was trans related because we were talking about, we didn't understand how people could get, especially men transitioning to women, could maintain that they could menstruate, they could have their periods. I still don't understand that. But the fucking great part about this industry content is that it appeals to everyone. And we got a great email or a great Facebook message from our next guest who worked trans outreach for the Canadian Mental Health Association. Her name is Zoey, and she said, listen, I'll come on and explain some shit to you guys. No sweat. So please welcome to the program, Zoey Carey. Zoey, how are you today?
Oh, not too bad of yourself.
Good. Nice to see you. Good to have you here. You're on the phone because you're busy working. What was great is I learned that you're a trucker as well.
I sure am. Yeah, it's funny. Just as soon as we were about to start, they came out to me and said I was they were done loading me. So now I'm just getting ready to go here. But yeah, I drive truck for a living. So
it's fucking awesome. How long have you been driving truck?
A couple months now. I drive semis now, but I've been driving school buses, things like that for a couple of years too. So,
so this
the
was
grand
just
scheme of it all. What? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Grand scheme of it all, you just decided to drive something bigger for more money.
Basically, yeah, it was more job opportunities, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I own a fifth wheel as well, so I've been towing things basically since I was 10 years old. So.
You've been driving around with a fifth wheel since you were 10? Where'd you live?
No, just been towing things. No,
I
started off towing the old... Oh, God, no. I'm from Port Hope, actually.
Listen, dude, Zoey, thank you very, very much for joining us and being part of the podcast. And what was it that caught your attention? Because you're listening to the last podcast, and then you reach out to us. What made you do that?
Well, basically, you just said you wanted more information on trans rights, just so you could, or just trans people in general, just to help you understand more. And
right.
I was just like, well, I'm a pretty open person, and I heard you talking about that period thing, and I wanted to hear more of what you meant, what they maybe meant by that, because I'm telling you right now, I am a post-op trans woman, and there's definitely no period happening. I can definitely assert that.
That would sort of be the best part about, to me, if I was trans, it would be like, the good news is I never have to menstruate.
Well, I did have to have my penis turned inside out.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of give and take when it comes to it all.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to be born, female, I would take the menstruation thing out of it. But yeah, hormones could give you like, maybe like a sick feeling or, an emotional feeling every month,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't get a period. Even trans guys. So here I'll tell you too how the nomenclature works if you don't know.
I'd love to know. That's
I
why
am
I
a
asked you to come on, Zoe.
so I am a male to female trans woman. So I was born male or whatever, born with a penis,
Mm-hmm.
and I transitioned to female.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's the other side of it is obviously female to male.
Mm-hmm.
I know most of them. Now, mind you, there are going to be people out there who say, "Oh, that's wrong" or whatever. I have it differently. But the majority of female to male trans people, when they start taking testosterone, they actually stop getting their period.
Mm.
So, and they start growing little penises out of their clitoris and things like that. Some of them. So,
Some of them have it made too, right?
oh,
Yeah.
I always joke. I used to actually be in a band with a friend of mine. He was a trans guy, and I used to always joke how like we could go into a gig or whatever, and nobody would know that he was a trans guy. And I'm just like, you bloody bastard! Like you're so lucky that way. But at the end of the day, though, like if he wants to have surgery to have the downstairs look the way he wants it,
Yep.
it's a lot more involved than mine. Like mine was like less than 2 hours, and I was out within a week and back to work within like a couple of months sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But like them, it's like several surgeries, skin grafts, things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all give and take in the whole grand scheme of it all. So
you make major surgery sound like it's nothing. But I think there's a reason for that, right? Zoey Carey joins us, trans woman who is transitioned from male to female, full post-op trans person. Tell me something. When did you? Because you were married at one point, and we've actually spoken before. Remind me about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were still with can we name your old places? Okay,
yep,
yeah.
Don't care.
I used to listen to you all the time on the Edge when I was working, more locally. But I had actually called in for What's Wrong with You,
Mm-hmm.
and I had won, because I did not have sex with my wife at the time for 2 years. So.
Mm-hmm.
You allowed me to go see Colorado, who was opened for by Fred Penner, which was a pretty awesome show. So
yeah, that's what we did. Is the contest was like to see who had the most fucked up life, and people would call in on a morning basis, and they would say, "Here's what's wrong with me." And I remember you won because, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't have sex with your wife, who had some plumbing issues, and there was a colostomy bag involved. And if I'm not, am I wrong?
Yeah, no. That really wasn't the issue. It was what led to that was she had what was known as perianal fistulas, which basically meant poop went in between both holes, basically.
That's
so
right.
There was whole loads of different issues that came up. So for the longest time there, that was the issue. Then she had the surgery at around the 2-year mark, and then we went another year, and then stupid me with timing, like we went that 3 years. We finally actually started being intimate again. Actually, we're trying for another child. And then I was just like, hey, guess what? I think I might be trans. And then that ended everything right then and
there.
Threw
a monkey wrench into the plans?
Pretty much, yeah. So basically, I have not, been intimate with anybody for like 6 years. So
well, we'll get to that in a bit if you want. But I want to talk about when you knew, like you're married, you had kids at the time, correct? And all of us, and you're a man, and you decide not just one day, obviously this is a struggle, but for people who don't quite understand this life that you have and this internal struggle that you went through, when did it start?
As long as I can remember. I could have, if I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and if it was more, talked about, maybe more open, more okay, I probably could have done it when I was a child, like when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one of those things. I grew up. My dad actually killed himself when I was 7, and I found out later on in life that he had suffered from, it was depression related. obviously that's why you kill yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
so that when I finally found out about that in like my early 30s is when I started going to see somebody, and they're like, well, I think you might be trans, and I'm like, yeah, I think I've known that for a long time. I was just kind of hoping I wasn't. And but yeah, like it was one of those things. Like it's
But
one of those I've
why were you
always
hoping you
known.
weren't? Like that's significant in this conversation to me. Why were you hoping you
because
weren't trans?
even when I started my transition, it was like it's still been night and day since then. It was less accepted. It was, I came out just before Caitlyn Jenner came out. Like um, it just I knew that if I came out as trans, that would be the end of my marriage. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and things would be a lot harder because it really is. Like I've been turned down for jobs. Like I went several years there without work because of the way I looked.
Because you were
And
transgendered, because you were seemingly a man and you dressed like a woman, so people didn't want to give you work.
basically, yeah, yeah.
That's
Like
fucking
I have
stupid.
I have a college diploma in like policing. I went to school for actually to work at the border for customs.
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't get a job doing that. I couldn't even get a job in a local, like a not Port Hope, but a different town as a not a cop, but what's the one underneath? I can never remember the name now.
Special
It's been
constable.
a few years. Yeah, special. I couldn't even get a job as a special constable, even though I had more training. I did better than over 3/4 of the people on the beep test. I like they just like flat out. It was like, yeah, it sounded like I was going to get the job, and then they asked one of the captains, and then it was just all of a sudden, nope. And I'm like, oh, they didn't say the reasoning because they could get in a lot of trouble, but I'm pretty sure I know the reasoning behind it. And I've even been told by places after I've been hired, and if I said, but like, I've gone in and let's make their own assumptions sort of thing about myself. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
correct anybody, and I've gotten the job, and afterwards they're like, yeah, if we would have known you were trans, because I would come out to them after the fact, we might not have hired you because of whatever reason. And I'm like, oh, good. But, it's one of those things when you're the first one that they have come through the door, then they don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe the next person that comes might, be better off that way.
So you would show up to these job interviews dressed as a man, and then come out as a woman later? Or would you do
I
that to
wouldn't,
get jobs?
I wouldn't say dressed as a man. I dress kind of in between.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you look at me at the way my clothes, like I wear mostly female clothes, but like, it's like long sleeve jeans. Like that's the way I've always been, is just a jeans and t-shirt sort of person.
Mm-hmm.
So like you look at me and it's just like, think like lesbian, like butch lesbian sort of deal.
Oh,
Where it's
okay.
like, they could go either way sort of deal. Like, so that's kind of where I fall in. So like
Yeah.
I'm lucky in a way because I can like take advantage of that to where, I still kind of have a little bit of white male privilege, but I understand the trans side of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice like that. Cause like when I first started my transition, like every trans person, you go like super the opposite direction of what you were. So I went like super feminine and, did all the makeup and all that sort of stuff. And then realized I'm like, well,
Did you like that part of it?
not,
Did you like the makeup? Because I got to tell you something, Zoe. Zoey Carey joins us, a trans woman who worked trans outreach for the Canadian Mental Health Association, talking about being trans and transitioning and what it's like and what the life is like prior to. And you said something fascinating to me. You're like, I hoped I wasn't, but I was. Not a struggle that a lot of people like really enjoy in your position in life. Where you've got a family
no.
and kids, and you have to live an honest perspective. You have to be honest because you can't be happy. So I have fucking tons of respect for the trans community in that regard, and for you especially, Zoe. Being open enough to talk about it. But you said something earlier. In as much as you dressed like you said, really feminist, was that just like, okay, I'm immersing myself in this? I need to dress in. Did you wear dresses? Did you wear skirts? Did you wear that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, I did everything. I went the whole 9 yards. I went, like I said, just think of like the most feminine person you could think of, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I went.
Yeah, and that's my question. Like you got all the hosiery, all that other stuff. it's significantly more work, getting ready when you're a female. Like you talk about the makeup. I can't be bothered to actually shave 4 out of 5 days. So, when it comes to putting on makeup and making myself look nice, I can't imagine the uphill battle just in that. Just at that, trying to figure
Oh,
all that stuff out.
I actually got pretty good at that stuff. But it was just more of I'm like, I enjoy it. I still do like it. Like it's not something, but I just, on a day-to-day basis, I'm still kind of lazy. And like I said, I'll just throw on jeans and t-shirt and go out the door sort of deal. Like I live in a truck now, like we were talking about. So
It's awesome.
I'm like, I need to, okay. So here's another thing that happens with trans women. You start taking hormones, you still get facial hair. You have to have it removed in some way. If you don't have the money, then you're stuck shaving every day. Well, even for me at this point in time, like being able to shave every day is kind of a luxury. So thank God for masks right now, because I am actually very self-conscious about my facial hair and stuff like that. So thank God for the masks and things like that, because it kind of hides it, so I can go into places and not, feel super uncomfortable.
And we don't even think, I say we in terms of that. I don't even think about that part of being trans, the facial hair. There are seemingly little things to everybody else, but they're massive things to you, massive things where, you can, and I find it interesting, because you can be not self-conscious about a full transition, but you're self-conscious about a goatee.
Yeah, basically.
It's awesome
Well,
in a constructive way.
Yeah, and it's the same with my voice too. Like when I first started transitioning, I tried changing the pitch. Well, there's a reason why I wasn't the singer in my band, is because I'm not very good with that sort of shit. So I got called creepy by I used to own a business doing non-emergency patient transfer back, years ago. And one of my employees, when I was trying to figure that out, they called me creepy, and ever since then it's stuck in my head, and I've been like, okay, I'm not going to change my voice. I don't want to have surgery because it can make it deeper if it gets screwed up in some way.
Are you serious?
So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to live with what I got. So,
yeah, and if you want to go, but dude, if you want to go full octave higher or a couple octaves higher, fuck those guys. Get rid of those comparisons. Fuck those guys. If that's something that you want to do and it's important to you, much like wearing a mask is today, then fucking do it. Like that's the freedom, right? That's where I think people find that freedom, is being able to drop comparisons or not allow someone else's perspective to creep into their day to control only things they can control. And if you can control it, something you want to do. But I also love the fucking screw you. I'm not going to change for shit. I'm going to keep talking like this for the rest of my life because I'm me and I love it.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? The way I look at it is, I have a niece who's got a deeper voice than me, and she was born female. So I'm like, well, fuck it. You know what? Everybody has a different. I don't want to maybe over exaggerating a little bit if she actually hears this, but there's women out there there's women out there with facial hair. There's women out there with deeper voices. There's women out there, there's women who are born female that look more like a man than I do. And so I just, like I said, a couple of years ago, I was having lots of mental issues and things like that. And I just said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to try to, sorry, I swore there.
Have you listened to me talk for the last 25 minutes?
That's true. Yeah.
But
yeah, so like I said, fuck this. I'm just going to do what I want, feel happy the way and comfortable in my own skin. And it's been, like night and day difference for me. And, I don't take any antidepressants anymore. I don't take any of that, and I'm just the only thing I take is hormones, every day. And that's it. And I've never been happier. And, also, I've never been one in a job to doing the same monotonous things every day. So I find working also helps too, because I get to see different things every day. So
yeah, for sure,
it's a big deal for me.
Being a trucker and being transgendered, are there strength in numbers in that community, in the trucker community, or is it tough?
Oh yeah, honestly, I think I've met one other trans trucker, and then a couple. I also do YouTube videos as well. I'm not plugging it or anything like that, but I'm just saying so I've met a few people through that. But
you can plug it, Zoey.
Yeah, well, the plugging my whole 460 followers that I have on my
That's
YouTube
how
channel,
you
but,
grow. That's how you grow, sister. That's what you do. You gotta fucking put it out there. So tell us where it is.
It's just Zoey Carey on YouTube. It's really easy to find.
Okay.
I just started doing the tranny trucker series on it because.
Now, can I ask you a question? Are we
Again,
allowed to call it the Tranny Trucker Series, or should we call it, like, if we're not transgender, can we call it the Transgendered Trucker Series, or are we allowed to, use your vernacular?
well, when it's directed towards me, I don't care. When it comes to that word, some people hate it, some people don't give a shit.
Why do people hate it? I understand why they hate it, because it sounds rough to me now, like the
Yeah,
way that we are.
it does sound rough. I agree with that, but it was always used as like a negative term,
Mm-hmm.
and now like I can differentiate people using that in a negative way towards me from people, like, for instance, my friends. Like, if one of my friends came up to me and been like, hey, tranny, what's up? Or just something stupid like that in a joking way, like, I wouldn't care. It wouldn't bother me. But if some guy driving down the street was, like, yelling it in a profane way because they saw me, then it would piss me off. But it's all in, how it's
Tone
used.
and context, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's one of those it's a context thing. So, like, if you can say that directed towards me, but don't say it towards like another trans person unless they specifically say it.
No offense.
It's okay,
I'm not.
no big deal.
We'll have you back on the show probably, because I'm really enjoying this. But I'm not ever going to introduce you as that. Just so you know.
No, that's fine.
I just don't. I would feel uncomfortable dropping the T word, if you will, because it's
that's totally fine.
And you know why? I'll tell you why. Normally, I would say 5 to 10 years ago, I would have said, "Fuck you, everybody. I'm allowed to use whatever word I want. They're just words." But I never realized how much those words hurt. They're like fucking big logs that we take and throw in the path of these beautiful human beings who are just on a journey. And and the reason why it was important for me to hear you say those words earlier, that you hoped you weren't, kind of bringing it back to what we talked about and the internal struggle that's caused by people who feel like they're in the wrong set of skin. That's kind of what I've arrived at. It's like, transgendered individuals feel as if God put them in the wrong body. And as someone who grew up with a certain, rule book in the evangelical church, which is fucked, I feel like I grew
on churches.
Oh, dude, I hate them all. Organized religion can lick my balls. But the understanding that I have of the internal struggle when it comes to finding out really who you are and what you believe, translates into who you are and what you believe individually, right? But I kind of draw the line at people that identify as black who aren't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
like I can't imagine the struggle. And I talked to this guy who's transgendered a few years ago, who transitioned at the age of 70, full transition at the age of 70. And listening to the work involved in that full transition at the age of 70, a grandfather who had a comfortable life, who was retired, who lived alone because his wife passed away, and he just had to do it. And listening to him tell me the story about how he feels at 73, fully transitioned into a female, as opposed to how he felt at the age of 70, hiding behind this thing that he knew he wasn't. He knew deep down he wasn't. The internal struggle was very fucking real. It is no different than anybody because in the end, it comes down to how it affects your mental health, right? You talked about how you weren't in a great place a couple of years ago. The mental health of an individual is a direct result of an unmet expectation from your life or the lives of others around you. And so when you don't meet these expectations, like, okay, I'm fucking born with a wiener and I don't want it, and I got to figure this shit out. Like that is dysmorphia that a straight individual could never understand. So when people shit on it, it makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. I get a little, what's the word? We were talking a little bit earlier And you're saying how, like, for yourself, you're a very angry guy, and things like that. And so was I. And that was the thing for me. Like, I knew partially actually transitioning was kind of my hope to even try to save my marriage, because it was on a bad trajectory as it was because of my anger issues.
Mm-hmm.
But the anger issues that I discovered were because I was trans and hiding it. So it was like, yeah, like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm kind of
100%.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So
It's this fucking rage that lives inside of people that they can't qualify and they can't straighten out.
mhm,
To the point where not being able to straighten out this thing that's intrinsic inside of you. It's as fucking normal as breathing, but you've had to deny
yeah,
it and you've had to lie.
mhm,
And everybody knows how dangerous lies are. And when
yeah,
you understand the facts involved behind, human being who's trying to live a happy life. And that's really what it comes down to. People can point to sexuality and identification and the process involved in how people identify and
yeah.
what they feel like they are. But really that has
Mhm.
very little to do with it. It has, okay, fuck, this person, Zoey Carey, who, what was your name prior to transitioning?
I used to go by Ryan.
Ryan. So back in the day, this individual Ryan isn't Ryan. This
Yeah,
isn't Ryan. This is Zoe. I'm in here and I want to get the fuck out. To the point
mhm,
where you have life-changing surgery. The idea of cutting off my genitals doesn't sit well with me on the best of days. Being willing to do it so you can be happy, and I'm being serious.
yeah.
Being willing to do it so you can be happy is heroic to me in some regard.
I don't like to use that term, the heroic thing. It was just like I said, it was just something I needed to do for myself.
Mhm.
Um, but technically, I didn't cut them off. They're still mostly there.
How does it work?
Um,
How does that work?
Literally, it's just taking your Audi and turning it into an innie. There's actually good video on the internet, of the actual surgery. There's two different ones. There's
Of your surgery?
like a not mine in particular.
Mhm.
I didn't bother with that because there's already those videos out there. But there's a like an animated style one. So if you
It's
don't
a
want to see all the
cartoon?
blood and everything like that, yeah, it's not an actual cartoon, but it's like like computer animated or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
of
yeah.
how they do it.
CGI.
And then there's the actual one, like on a person where you see blood and everything like that. So like it's really interesting. They literally throw away your testicles and that's about it.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you have any pre-op paranoia or like going, because that's like point of no return shit for everybody, right? When they throw your nuts out.
no paranoia. I was worried it was just my luck. It would go bad. Like there are situations where it's gone bad. But I
Mhm.
went to one of the best surgeons in the world.
Mhm.
So I wasn't too concerned, which is in Canada actually. It's in Montreal.
Mhm.
Um, but so like I really had no complications after surgery. I barely took any medications after surgery. I think by the second or third day, all I was taking was acetaminophen.
Mm.
But I actually had both done. I had boobs and bush done. So
You went the full
but
boobs and bush in one shot.
yep. Actually, the government of Ontario paid for it. So that's I was
Congratulations.
like, you know what?
One good
So
turn
yeah,
deserves
they
another. So did you
they
go big? Did you go big with the Hooters, Zoe? Can I ask?
uh, well, I'm a fairly large person, so I went with like a D size. So it's
Hmm.
like just they do them to fit your body, sort of
Okay.
thing. So
So you can't request when you go in there. Let's say you're going. This is a completely innocently ignorant question, but
no, go ahead.
can you make like requests when you go in, depending on from what to what you're transitioning or who to who you're transitioning?
Well, because I wasn't paying for the boobs, like it's just they're kind of instructed to just do what suits your body. I'm
Okay.
sure you could go a little bit bigger or smaller if you really wanted to. Like if you're like, hey doc, give me a few extra CCs in there.
Yep.
But like I said, the surgeons in Montreal at GRS Montreal, they're awesome.
Mhm.
They literally are the ones who are rewriting the books on it, and like yeah, they're just amazing. And he'll look at you and be like, yeah, I think you need this amount of CCs, and it's pretty good. Like I'm quite happy with what I've got. So,
That's all that matters.
but
Again, getting back to
yeah,
what fucking matters, right? You know,
yeah,
these are just silly questions that are probably in the ethosphere or in the atmosphere of the world of stupid. But I have to ask these questions because I don't know, right? Like, you know, it's the same thing with the menstruation thing. Like, what was all the hubbub about, you know, and you've explained that uh
yeah.
terrifically. But you know,
Okay,
it's such a, like you'd say, go watch those videos, Dean, or everybody can go watch those videos. I'm not a queasy guy, but those are one of the videos like operating in that area that I probably would
hey,
have a hard time with, and that's just me.
my ex-wife can attest to this. The first time I watched that video, we were actually on our way back from Florida.
Yeah.
It was just as I had started. Like we left the day we left for Florida. It was kind of like our last big family vacation or whatever. We drove down with the trailer and stayed at Disneyland or Disney World. But on the way back, we were sitting. I had a couple drinks. We were sitting there having a couple drinks or whatever, and I started watching that video, and I almost threw up. So it's not just you that goes queasy. Like I watched it a few more times, and was because I felt like if I was going to have that surgery, I needed to know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to sit and watch it. And yeah, it's actually really interesting. Like if you like how they managed to like save everything, and like I can still, have climaxes and things like that. I guess I'm trying to be as nice as possible here, but so like everything still works down there. Like I can have penetrative sex if I want to, sort of deal. Like it works
Okay.
almost the same. But I will say when it comes to that whole menstruation thing, I don't want to count anybody out. So
Mm-hmm.
there are the people out there. I know one in particular that are born with both sets of genitalia, and it is possible for them if they decide to go to the female side. It could be a possibility that they have it, but it's such a small number of people in the world that the average trans female,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're not peeing blood. There's nothing like it's not the
Yeah.
same. Like, if you're a post-op and you have issues down, like you can have, after surgery issues and have blood come out,
Mm-hmm.
like that happens, but it's not menstrual blood.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that when I heard that, I'm like, what the who the hell says
Dude,
that? Like,
J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, maybe one of the greatest literary minds of our time, said,
she's a cunt.
"You hate her? You don't like her?"
She's what I don't know if have you ever heard the term exclusionary radical feminist or a
No,
TERF?
explain it to me.
Basically, they're people that identify themselves as being feminists, but they don't include trans women as being female. They see us as men.
Wrong.
They see trans men who have transitioned from female to male as women. So she's written a lot of, like, I was never a big Harry Potter fan, so I've just kind of picked up snippets here and there from people, like on Facebook and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, she was like saying very negative making very negative remarks about trans people and spreading misinformation about them. And that's where my issue comes in. It's the same with Joe Rogan. Every time he ever speaks about a trans person, especially when it comes to kids, he just spreads misinformation constantly.
Not familiar with what he says. What does he say?
Like he says, like, well, about the trans women in sports.
Mm-hmm.
How he's just like, oh, if we let them in, they're going to take over, all female sports, which is not even remotely close to that happening. There's trans women in sports, and none of them really are that, like, they're not, high elite level.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, they're not winning everything. It's not happening. Even Fallon Fox, who I kind of met, I'm like Facebook friends with her, so like I talked to her a few times or whatever, just because we're part of the same group or whatever. And we have similar friends as well. Even like she was a UFC, like an MMA style fighter who started fighting after she had transitioned, like years after she had transitioned. And even she's not undefeated. She's been beat by women.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that issue. And then when it comes to the kids, where he makes it sound like, hypothetically, Dean, I know you have kids, so say tomorrow one of your kids comes to you and says, "Hey, I think I might be a woman."
Yeah.
You can't go the next day to the doctor and just immediately start injecting them with hormones. That's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is if they're under a certain age, I can't remember if it's 16 or 18. It's been a couple years since I used to do I'm not with Canadian Mental Health anymore. I don't do that anymore. I just don't have the time. It's been a few years since I did it. So I can't remember the exact numbers, but.
Sorry, I'm just going to say all around wonderful woman, Zoey Carey, who loves to enlighten people. That's what we should have put on your placeholder here on the screen.
Yeah. Hey, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the big thing with that is with kids is they don't get hormones until they know for 100% certain, and the doctors that are treating them know 100% certain that is the way they want to go. Like you have to go through years of doctor's appointments, seeing mental health professionals, things like that, before you like a child or a preteen or whatever can even.
That's a fucked up narrative too, right? Like it's weird because they want like if a like say a 16-year-old says, "Mom, I want to come out as transgender," Dad, they rush them to a mental health professional.
Well, unfortunately, it's unfortunately it's ingrained in our system. Like that's why when I worked doing the mental the outreach, it was through Canadian Mental Health, but it was called Gender Journeys, and it was just unfortunately those were the people that started trying to help these individuals to make sure that they were in the worst possible terms of saying it, in sane mind, and this is what they wanted to do, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So for instance, like I was saying with kids, if you're 10 and you think, you go to your parents and there's a history of this child obviously being uncomfortable in their body and things like that, then the parents will take them to the doctor, and at most they will get hormone blockers so that when they start going through puberty, they just don't start going through puberty. And if later on in life they decide that they don't want to do this, they can remove the hormone blockers, and then they will just have their normal puberty just a little bit later in life. Mm-hmm. So medically, it doesn't affect them. But the thing is, with those kids, it is such a minute amount of them to the point where I don't even think there's too many numbers on it. Again, I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. If somebody can inform me now, like I said, it's been a few years.
I can inform you right now, so we'll just go with that generalization, and I'm fine with it. So
yeah, say 99.9% of the children that do go down this route, they continue on that journey because there's a difference between a child saying, "I want to be a girl today, I want to be a boy today," and going through years and years and years of mental anguish of being in the wrong body. Like, look at somebody like, for instance, Jazz Jennings in the U.S. Mm-hmm. She went, since she was 3 with having these issues. And, even as she's gotten older, she never changed her mind. It never wavered.
Mm-hmm. And that's the girl from This Is Jazz or whatever that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to watch that show back in the day, but
yeah, I've watched a few episodes of it just from a perspective of trying to understand it. Years ago, and that's where I thought no one would pick that life if they could, right? If they had a choice.
Yeah. No.
And I don't mean to sound like a dick.
If I had the choice, I wouldn't. What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to sound like an asshole by saying that.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I would never choose this life. I wouldn't wish this on my, worst enemy. But it's literally I, go down the same path as my father and kill myself and leave my child without a parent. Mm-hmm. I'm his, I was his father, but without that other parent. Or I go down this route and be happier in my life, sort of deal. So yes, it's made things, a lot more difficult. But not as difficult as, hanging myself or whatever sort of thing. So it's just a better of the two situations, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah. For those of you that think that being transgendered is a choice or a defect, For those of you who think that the LGBT community has a choice in how they feel and what comes out of who they are. I hope you listen to Zoe. I hope you absolutely listen to every word she said, especially towards the end. It's not a choice. These are people and
No.
individuals and human beings that deserve our compassion, our love, and understanding, so that
Mhm.
they don't kill themselves, so that they don't end up a statistic, so that we can embrace these people as individuals and human beings who are struggling. So I appreciate the enlightenment, and more importantly, I appreciate the honesty as well. And I can't wait to meet you, Zoe. I'd hang out with you any day of the week. I don't care what's on your chest or between your legs or lack thereof. You're a great human being
Well,
and very well spoken, and you represent the transgender community very well. And I'm enlightened and appreciate your time more than anything.
yeah, thanks for listening. Like I said, I've listened to you for a long time. So, and honestly, like I remember back in the day how you were and things like that, and it was really nice to hear you start like your kind of change in attitude, like you've said in the past. Like it's nice to hear that because that's what people need to do, and the more it's talked about, the more open it is, and you know, the better everybody is.
Mm.
But I was a little disappointed though that Darren wasn't on today. I was kind of hoping to talk to him too,
Yeah, we
but
were too, but he was late for yesterday's podcast and probably didn't
yeah,
even look at his email today. He's a fucking rock star, Zoe. He still acts like a rock
I
star, though.
know.
I love him.
Hey, I was a kid when Goldfinger was big, so I was just like, man, I love that band, and even like his other projects, like the Palace and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man, and like I said, I used to be in a punk band, so
Oh, did you,
not
dude? We'll
anymore. We broke
fucking.
up.
We're
But
gonna
yeah,
have you back. Sorry, Zoe. We're gonna have you back on the
that's fine.
podcast. Listen, I've called you dude 3 times, and it's only because of the
Fair.
audio. If I saw a video of you, because I just have a picture of you in a fucking kick-ass motorcycle helmet riding a bike. So that's the only picture, because that's what everybody's seeing. So I humbly apologize for that. This is going to require
No,
some
don't worry.
work just on my audio portion, just of me saying, you know what, Zoe is a lovely young lady and someone who I aspire to be as comfortable and as open with. So I appreciate you doing this. And listen, when you talk about how I used to feel, I always felt like this. I always
Mhm.
felt like advocacy should have been more part of my personality.
Yeah.
Advocating for the unfair, advocating for things um, that that other people fucking struggle through, but I never struggled. You
Mhm.
know, I
Yeah.
never had, I always knew I was straight. I never had to question my sexuality in dark, quiet moments. I never had to, dude, I was allowed to come and go as I pleased. And those were jokes. Your community is not a joke. What you go through is not a joke. We can laugh and have fun and
No.
tell jokes about the
Yeah.
lighter side of this, but that internal struggle, and after going through some downtime in my life, I've realized that no one's exempt. No one's exempt from
Yeah.
sadness. No one's exempt from struggle. No one's exempt. And so, if there's a way that I can take some logs off those paths and be able to educate people along the way, and at the same time, be an ally in every capacity from a perspective of education, understanding, and compassion, that's
Yeah.
all I want. That's all I want out of this life, because this is happy to me. This is a happy
Yeah.
result. This is a happy conversation. This is an honest conversation about an individual who not a lot of people would have heard your story. And I want to tell these stories because they're important fucking stories to tell of the disenfranchised.
Mhm.
If we can't do
Yeah.
something with what we've been given, and you know what, I was given a lot and I didn't use it properly most of the time. So if I can use this properly some of the time, I'm a pretty happy guy. And so it's my pleasure. So thank you.
Hey, like I said, I'm about just trying to help other people. Like what I'm okay with and what the next trans person you meet with is not the same. But if I
Yeah,
can
but you
break
know
down
what,
those
Zoe?
barriers
I
for
think I
for
think
people,
every
but
community has it's like listen, we old stupid fucking
hey,
white
oh,
guys have like terrible examples. Every group has its extremists, right? Like there
yeah,
are extremists in the
well,
trans community who you probably fucking hate. There are extremists that are
oh
white
yeah,
guys who I fucking hate. They're called racist KKK members, by the way.
Yep.
There are extremists in every sect, denomination, group of individuals. So we'll just shit on those people together.
Yeah, well, the alt center, that's where it's at, man.
Alt
When
middle,
you said that, I
baby.
was just alt middle. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
I was
alt
like,
middle.
sign me up for that shit. That's where I sit. So
Zoe, you and me, we're gonna go a long way. Appreciate your time. Thanks for this, Zoe. We'll talk to you soon.
yeah, for sure, man. Have a good one.
All right, Zoey Carey, trans woman who transitioned from male to female. Sorry, male. Yeah, male to female. That's not something that you do on a Sunday for kicks. By the way, it's not like Sean. That's not like when someone goes, "Hey, you want to go for wings?" Sean Sargent, our producer. I hope people got that out of there. I hope people understood that from Zoe. That is like Zoe didn't ask for this. Trans people don't ask and beg to go through this unbelievable fucking life.
And some people never actually take the step, right? Like there's people that are hidden their whole life in this community that just haven't taken that step. And so it's really interesting to hear someone that's gone through that phase of making the commitment, making a big change in their whole life, and it affects everything. So
Well, because you've gotten the looks, you know how trans people are looked at by losers. Everybody
That's it.
knows. Everybody knows. And so when you make that decision and you can't go back, you just heard Zoe tell his testicles are in the garbage. Her testicles are gone. Garbage. Threw them out. It's not like going to get your hair cut.
No,
It's fucking God. And she says she's not a hero, but that's like hero shit to me.
it's impressive. It's super impressive.
It's hero shit to me. You should have sat and listened to this fucking conversation I had with a 73-year-old guy that transitioned when he was 70. Hospital for like a month.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Someone that goes through at 70, like you've gone your whole life.
Yeah. That's the most badass thing anybody could do if you ask me. And I'm being fucking serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. You dick wallopers out there that don't share that opinion, I don't care. That's a badass.
Yeah. And be
I
proud
wished
of
I was a
That's what
10th
I
of
like
that.
about her.
Yes.
She seems super proud of herself and how happy she is right now. So
She
good
is.
for her. Good
She
for Zoe.
is. And I fucked up twice. I said, dude, like, or 3 times. I said, dude, 3 times, just because I wasn't seeing the person. I was hearing the voice of this individual, and so cool about it too. Like an understanding from an individual who's like, I get it. I'm not upset. Because the
No,
intention
it's a
was
great
good.
talk. It's
Wasn't it fucking great? Love that.
yeah, alt middle all the
Do
way.
that. Alt middle, baby. We'll take transgendered people. Bring us your transgendered and your gay. Bring us your straight. Bring us your black. Bring us your white. Bring us your Asian. Come one, come all. If you hate every other extremist as much as we do, plenty of room in the alt middle, baby. Rex Chapman loves it. My boy Rex Chapman on Twitter. Like the biggest Twitter follower in the world. He's pounding some of my tweets yesterday about the alt middle. I'm like, this thing's catching on. I'm going to make shirts. Jesse Lumsden sent me an email yesterday.
Hey,
Canadian bobsled legend, Canadian football legend Jesse Lumsden sends me a text. He's like, I'll read it to you. I'm all about the alt middle. Let's get shirts. I'm bringing it.
Well, you never know. Merch is coming soon. That's one thing maybe we should just announce that right now. That we're going to be coming out with some merch on our Twitch channel specifically. Anybody that wants to subscribe on Twitch.
When were we doing that? I wasn't aware of that. No one told me about that.
This is the extra little stuff, know? The reason we do Twitch.
Okay, good. So Twitch, yes. Join us on Twitch,
Yeah,
Dean
there's
Blundell
gonna be some extra
TV.
stuff on Twitch. Come join us, guys.
Twitch.tv/Dean Blundell TV. Thanks to our friends at Owner's Box Fantasy Sports, the premier weekly fantasy sports platform on the planet. Right now, they're giving you $500 just for fun. I can't believe that, to be honest with you. We started doing like these $50 cash bonuses. So you put in $50 of your cash to gamble, to play responsibly, fantasy sports, football specifically, because it's all we got. They got hockey. They got everything coming. I mean, they're ramping up. But join Owner's Box right now. Make football fun again, for crying out loud. And it's a no-brainer when they start at 50 and go to 500. You got to take advantage of it. You put in up to 500, they'll match that with a deposit match of $500. $100. So you put in 5, you start with 1,000. I'm no math genius, but if it's free, it's for me. So do it. Owner's Box, weekly fantasy sports. Get your head in it, for crying out loud. Ownersbox.com. Go sign up. It's like 30 seconds. Totally free to sign up, too. Doesn't cost a dime. Blue Microphones, the official microphone of the DeanBlundell.com podcast network. Here at DeanBlundell.com, we take our audio seriously, and so we have to partner with the best. Blue Microphones, at Blue Microphones on Twitter. Dream a dream and put it all together with Blue. They got these Compass mic arms. They've got 2 sets of headphones. Fucking Emmy award-winning. Unbelievable. Love them. I can't stop using them. I use them for everything. Shut people out, bring people in. Nice and thick, noise canceling too, a little bit. I love it. Anyway, thanks to our friends at Blue, because not only are the best podcast broadcast gear company on the planet, they're also rewarding you for having a podcast. If you go to DeanBlundell.com right now, sign up for the Show Us Your Pod contest. We'll just pick your podcast. Could be yours. Could be you that we pick to join the DeanBlundell.com network. No great shake, you say? Screw that. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of shit, too, including a bunch of Blue microphone stuff, including this Blue Yeti X microphone, including these headphones and a Compass mic arm. Oh, you got to podcast properly if you're going to join the DeanBlundell.com network. That's what I hear. That's what I've been told. Blue microphones. Thank you. Ed's Gitch. Buy 3, get 1 free. That's how he does it. Loves giving away free stuff, too. All this free stuff around me. All over on this page. Down there, over there, up there, over there. If you order right now from edsfineimports.com, his Gitch, his own branded underwear, pouch in the front, boxer brief, super breathable, the most comfortable underwear on the planet, luxury Gitch. Send them to you for Christmas. Send them to you way before Christmas. Plus, he'll give you 1 pair for free when you buy 3 with promo code Gitch and then the number 3 at edsfineimports.com. That's it for us. Sign up on the newsletter at DeanBlundell.com. Other than that, I don't know. I'm going to take the weekend. It's Friday. Well, it's not Friday now. It's Thursday. But I have no plans to podcast tomorrow, and you shouldn't either. They don't do well on Fridays. That's why. It's an analytics thing. Plus, we'll just pull a whole bunch of shit out of this podcast, throw it all over the place. Huh? Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you Monday. Depends.